I accidentally changed all the energy inside of me. I took psychedelics for the first time. And then from there, I had this perspective shift. Instantly, I knew, like, I want to hold on to this feeling. I had an injury for like 9 months on my back that was gone. That I couldn't get rid of in 9 months. It was gone in 6 hours. That's when I decided, okay, I'm gonna walk away from everything and I'm gonna figure this out.
You seem like you got to a stage where you didn't think, you just did.
People always try to show up in a certain way. They always want people to look at them in a certain way. Let it go. So don't think about what you'd like all the time. Once you figure out your plans and your path and your execution, stop thinking about what you like, just the execution.
Why don't we learn this when we are kids?
The adults don't know it.
Are we the creators of our own reality? Love it. Love it. Mike, you've gone through such a powerful transformation. Going from one of the biggest faces in the fitness industry to who you are now. If you could describe who you were back then and who you are now, how would you put that into words?
So back in 2010, when I started in fitness and building the Six Pack Shortcut brand, the main driver was needing to prove something to other people, prove something to myself. That was like the fuel. Up until then, because I was like 27, 28, about 27 when I started building that brand. But even before that, all the way until when I was just a kid, being in this type of environment where, I always felt picked on, looked down on, it was always a drive to want to show the people that I was better than what they thought. Honestly, it was just in my own head. But that was the fuel. That was the major thing that was different about me. And when I was working, when I'm making goals, everything was about trying to be the best. Now, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter the best. I don't even think about best. That doesn't come across anymore. But now what I focus on is, what can I do to go and impact more people? On the outside, it looks really similar, right? Because when you're trying to be the best, what do? You're impacting people, you're changing lives. It looks very similar, but it's entirely different in the way that I experience every day, because I just don't take it so personal anymore. So it just allows me to go do things and not have so much pressure. It's not so personal. Before, when we win, it's like we're excited, and then when we hit some type of struggle, it's like frustration. Just frustration. I'm like slamming on things. Had a lot of anger. It's a totally different person now. You can say that before I was very, very emotional, a lot of anger, a lot of rage, and I used to be breaking things when I was younger. I was known. People call me the Hulk. Because especially when I drink, then I'll just destroy everything, and now it's not the same. I don't drink anymore, but even if I did, I just don't have the same intense emotions. It's very different now.
Mm. How did the old Mike experience what success actually was? And how did you let go of that identity? Because in a way, you climbed a fantastic mountain. And, going through your own personal journey, there's a certain piece of yourself that you would have had to let go and start back up again. So how did you let go of that identity of maybe old Mike and lean more into who you are now?
Well, my story was really unique, because it wasn't really hard to let it go. And people, when they listen to it, it's like, was it because you were training, or because of? No, it wasn't. It was because I had an experience in 2015, in February 8th of 2015, where I accidentally changed all the energy inside of me. I was at this event, and through a couple of talks, I decided that I wanted to be authentic. that I didn't want to care so much about how people thought of me. So then I took psychedelics for the first time, some mushrooms. And then from there, I'm feeling good, I'm dancing, I'm playing. And then I had this perspective shift. But that alone didn't do it because everybody else was taking mushrooms too. But that perspective shift, as I was having conversations, I started to recognize that I was completely living life by my ego, by all the stories in my head, particularly the stories in my head. And up until then, I thought the stories were myself. I thought that I am the one that's me in the head saying all these things. It's all real. It's all real. And then that night, I recognized that I do have a voice, but I don't have to listen to that voice all the time. That voice isn't real. And that all the reasoning and that this happened and because of this I should do this and I am this person, all of that, it's just my voice in my head, but it didn't dictate my life. When I recognized that, I was able to be free from my voice, free from my ego. And I mean, I was breathing, I was tapping, I was stretching, I was moving around, I was speaking out loud, recognizing everything in my head. I did all of that for 6 hours. And at the end of the 6 hours, my energy completely changed. I was able to detach from everything. So then when you ask, like, was it hard to how did you make that change? Once that happened and I detached, instantly I knew, like, I want to hold on to this feeling. I want to hold on to this state, even though I don't know what it is. I mean, like, big things are changing. Pains disappeared. I had an injury for like 9 months on my back that was gone. Gone in that I couldn't get rid of in 9 months. It was gone in 6 hours. My mind went completely still, like no voice in my head. And I was just practically floating. I was walking around just almost levitating off the ground, like really close. And I'm like looking at my arms and my body and like, this is new. Like this never happened to me. I don't know what was happening. But the feeling that I had was so good that I didn't want to let it go. So I said, what can I do to hold on to this state, whatever this state is? That's why I decided to walk away from the business and walk away and change everything. Because it was nobody could ever convince me of it. But when I had that experience and felt that good, instantly I know. Because I'm having that experience of feeling so good, so blissful, beyond any happiness I've ever experienced. And so it wasn't just like an idea. It was an experience that was very clear that I want more in this my life. I want more of this in my life, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it. I'm going to let go of whatever it takes to get it. So it was obvious to me really soon after that I need to let go of the business because I told my partners about what happened, and I told them that I'm gonna figure this out, and we're gonna teach everybody how to do this. Whatever I did, I don't know what I did, no idea, but whatever it is, I'm gonna, we're gonna do it. We're gonna teach everybody. We got a large audience. We've got this platform. It's gonna be life changing for people. And I can imagine, them listening to me going, okay, so you have no idea what you're doing. You don't even know what this is. I don't know what this is. And all I know is you're just going to chase this random rabbit trail. Yeah, we've got a full-blown business. We've got employees. We've got a whole team. Like we can't just, randomly go off on whatever this is. Like we have to stay focused. So they didn't see my vision, which you can't even blame them. But I'm having this experience, so it's undeniable to me that, well, that's fine, but this is what I want. I know this is real because I'm having the experience right now. This is happening. And it stayed for 2 weeks. So it wasn't like a moment. Because people go, oh, you're on mushrooms. No. There's a lot of people that take mushrooms. People don't have this. This is different. Mushrooms was like the fuel for it. It triggered it, but mushrooms alone can't do this. I know because I've taken plenty of mushrooms afterwards. And I know many, many people that do on a regular basis. High dosage, small dosage, they don't have this experience. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm gonna walk away from everything and I'm gonna figure this out. because I want to hold on to this state because it's what I've been looking for. It's what happiness really is. I just never knew. I never knew I could have that feeling, have that state. I never knew it, and then once I experienced it, I have no idea how I did it. So I was determined to find out, and that was over 10 years ago.
Right, right. It seems like you were trying to find this happiness outside of yourself from maybe like materialistic things where you were building a business and looking for success and money and trying to prove yourself, which was all outside yourself. And then you came to this crossroad where you actually looked inwards, and with the help of magic mushrooms, it helped you come out of your head and really feel into your heart. And then from that space, you were able to detach from the mind. And it sounds like that's where you found this sense of true happiness that came from internally within yourself, which is genuinely what you were seeking, which is so phenomenal. Because with these modalities like psychedelics, they can really help us detach from ourselves. And one of the points that you do touch on is not labeling things as good or bad, or, you know, it's not so black or white. When you can drop into this moment of it just being exactly the way it is, I would love for you to share on that point what you find within yourself when you detach from self.
So, what do I find? What do I find within myself when I detach from self? Right. I would I would say, so what am I experiencing? You know, what am I experiencing? How does it happen? How does it work? So when I'm not attached myself, it's experienced is peace. Because imagine when we're attached to ourselves, that's to say that we are constantly focusing on our identity. Another way to say that is not just having a voice in our head. It's part of it, but it's not defined as that, because we can have a voice, but we're not thinking about ourselves in our head. We can be focused on this, focused on that, which could still be a voice. So it's not exactly that. It's when the focus is on ourself. So when I'm thinking about myself in my head, now the feeling goes from this peaceful, no pressure, lightness to pressure, to tension, to heaviness. Then what happens is I'm not focused on an action that I'm doing at any given moment. I'm focusing on myself first and then the action. So then what it feels like, my experience of it is, I want to do this thing, I want to express this, but at the same time, I feel like I'm stopping myself from expressing this. And this is simultaneously happening. So there's this, I want to go and punch, and then, but I don't know if I should. And then, so I have to force a lot of the expression. Versus when we're not in our head, we don't force the expression because we're not stopping any expression. Everything just kind of flows out. And people have this, they have it all the time, but they don't realize when they have it, because to realize it means they have to be in their head thinking about themselves. I'm having this nice flowing moment. Totally in presence. The moment that they recognize that they are having that experience, they stop the experience. When they go, hey, I'm in flow right now, who do they have to think about? And then the act of thinking about themselves stops the flow. So you can say it's a paradox. When somebody is in flow, they never know it. They never know that they're in flow. They never know that they're totally present. When they know they're present, they stop the presence, because they had to think about themselves to recognize that they are in presence. And the moment they did that, they stopped it.
Is that what meditation is, Mike?
Yeah, that's exactly what meditation is. That's why we can meditate with our eyes open. We can meditate all the time. It's not just eyes closed. we can be doing anything, and if we're not thinking about ourselves, we're in a meditative state. So that's why there's so many forms of meditation. It's not just like eyes closed and following your breath. That's just one of many. There are walking meditations. Go, when I do this thing, I'm in a meditative state, or it puts me in a meditative state because I get to focus on the action. I'm painting, I'm drawing, I'm writing, I'm doing something, I'm driving, and I'm paying attention to the action. And by paying attention to the action, I'm not focused on myself. Now, this happens both at the same time. I can focus on the action and I can focus on myself. But like I was mentioning, when I do, I get in the way of the action. Now, all the action feels like it has to be forced. If not, it won't come out. I'll just feel stuck. I want to do it, but I'm not doing it. I want to say it, but I'm not saying it.
Yep. Yep. As you share that with me, it's like, how can we find peace within the chaos? Like right now through this conversation, we've got construction going on in the background.
Yeah.
And we have to tell ourselves in this moment to be fully present through this conversation. And it reminds me of a book, Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. He explains a story where he is sharing with a old Indian man. He used to meditate on the train from city to city through India. And Jay said, I get off the train to meditate when it's quiet. And the old Indian man goes, why are you getting off the train to meditate? You should be meditating on the train when it's chaotic, when it's noisy, when the distraction's there. That's how you can truly be in a meditative state, even when the noise and distraction is happening around you. So I guess my question is how do you live a busy life. You've got 2 kids, you're running a huge business, you're living out here in Bali, and times do get chaotic. When do you feel into that moment where you need meditation, and is it the art of just knowing that, hey, life's getting really busy around me right now, I need to do some meditation to come back into my center?
I practice not focusing on myself, not focusing on what I'm gaining, how I'm going to be, what happens to me or my life. I don't focus on that. I know, but there's not a lot of attention focused on it. What it does is it allows me to go and focus on the things that I need to do. It allows me to focus on the life that's happening right now instead of some future outcome, or more more accurately, focus on this label of me changing. Because I do that, I don't have to sit there and meditate as often. Still need to. You can't get away from it. But it buys me a lot more time, or you can say it allows me to handle more. Because when we're dealing with pressure and we're dealing with all this stuff that happens, and it's happening all the time, the more we do, the more challenges we face. And then when we're facing these things, if we are constantly thinking about our gain, how our life is going to be, what are we going to get from it, whether or not I like it or dislike it, any of those type of opinions and personal preferences, then we're always dealt with 2 outcomes. Either I like it, I prefer it, I think it's right, it's good for me, or the opposite. And when it's the opposite, then naturally the next thing is we have some type of emotional response from it. Stress, anger, frustration. And then from that, we feel the pressure, we feel the energetic change, it brings us down, all this stuff. So then we can skip all of that, or we can decrease it to the point where it doesn't influence us. It doesn't influence what we do. It's like we're walking down the road, and it's nice to walk into a path that's smooth, that doesn't have any rocks, doesn't have any bumps, because this way you won't trip over anything. But if you have some small rocks, it's not going to bother you. You're still able to walk fine. You can go to the point where you have some gravel. People walk on gravel, small gravels, Is it a little tougher? Well, sometimes gravel can get into your shoes, and it does, and you have to go sit there and take it out. But you're still able to walk. Now imagine that you're walking and you're having to climb this mountain, and then they're walking through all this bush and brush and all this stuff. It makes it really tough. So all of these obstacles is like emotions in our body. It's stories in our head. We're always going to have some of them, but how much is the question. If we have a little bit, it doesn't bother us. It's like walking on gravel all the time. It's there, but we can walk. But imagine when people are having so much internal dialogue and so much internal pressure from all these emotions, then they're trying to walk through all this brush and thorns, and it's so tough. So then when we talk about meditation, what we're talking about is letting go of constantly thinking about ourselves. Therefore, our path is easier. We're able to let go of a lot of the obstacles. So now when there's not a lot of obstacles in our path, now we have the opportunity to put obstacles in there. The obstacles that we put in there is our goals. So if we don't have big goals, or we don't have any goals, hey man, I'm just gonna do whatever I want in life, go with the flow, I'm just gonna chill and do nothing. We're in Bali. Yeah, great. And then we don't have a strong sense of self, so we have no obstacles with our regular internal, our internal state. We don't have much obstacles. We don't even care about goals. Life is easy. Some people live like that. You see them, they're chilling. I'm happy. Everything's great. What are you doing? Breathing, being alive, not doing much, growing some food out there. Cool. Okay. But now let's say somebody else, they go, well, I feel like I got some things to do. I've got, I've got a purpose. I've got a big mission. So that big mission is throwing those obstacles on that road, throwing the rocks and the trees and the thorns and all this. Well, if you want to handle that mission, you can't go and also have all this stuff on the inside, because that plus your mission, you can't even go through it. So by default, you have to clear your stuff. You can't accomplish it. So that's why the bigger purpose somebody has, the more important it is. And the purpose is up to this person. Somebody goes, I want to raise the best family. Man, being a father is tough. Being a mother is even tougher. These kids aren't following rules. I mean, they're just doing whatever the heck they want. And if you want to go ahead and control them and suppress them and make them do what you want, they're going to grow up to resent you, grow up to hate you. So then you got to be able to handle them throwing the left and rights and doing the tantrums. That's like having the obstacles on the road. But let's say your goal is to raise the best kids. That's tough, right? You got to clear your stuff so that they can go ahead and make a mess on your road and you can still walk through it.
Peacefully as well. Because we are always going to face challenge, adversity, hard times. No matter if you are just going with the flow of life and you don't have any goals in place, like you stated, or if you do want to build this huge empire, it is going to be hard. But as you express that, what comes to mind is what matters is the tools that you have in your tool belt to pull out at any time through this challenge, through this adversity. It might be meditation. It might be the Flow 60 practice that helps you relieve tension and feel more calmer within your body. It might be breath work. But what sort of tools do you have in your tool belt to be able to pull out any time whether you need it? Whether you are a mother with kids or a father with kids, or you do want to build a huge empire, or if you've already built that.
Well, as you know, we do the practice, right? We do the practice every morning, 5 methods, and we're tapping, we're shaking, we're breathing, we're stretching. The tools that I pull out is really dependent on the situation. So let's say we're sitting here right now, right? You teach breath. You teach breath for asthma. You teach breath to help people regulate. So let's show me a short, something that takes, 30 seconds. Let's say if I was to ask you, if somebody's dealing with anxiety, or they can't breathe right now, they got a lot of pressure, and they can't get up, they have to sit right here.
Yep.
Walk us through like a 30-second breath work.
Yep.
What do we do?
This is called the physiological sigh.
Okay.
And studies have been done in Stanford
Yep.
with this breathwork technique. And it's 2 big inhales in through the belly, into the chest, all the way to the head. And then you do a sharp inhale right at the top. So it looks like this. And then release out the mouth. Want to do it together?
Yeah, let's do it together.
So fully in, sharp at the top, and out the mouth. One more, fully in, sharp, and out the mouth.
That was great.
How do you feel?
More clear. See, how many people know how to do that? Simple. Takes a little practice, bringing in the breath, right? That's why we do what we do. That's why it's so important. Because imagine if everybody, whenever they're dealing with anxiety, they just do that anytime, anywhere, which they could, right? We're sitting down. They can do it standing up. They can do it sitting on a train, anywhere. If they did that, then they wouldn't let it build up. If they did that, they're about to take on this task, this challenge, and they can go and take a moment, get centered, and they can show up. They can show up. Yeah, some people don't even show up because it's just too much. And the people that are showing up, but it's still a lot, they can be centered and they can show up better. This is why I stay up at night. This is why we spend so much energy. Because people need to be able to know how to do this. They need to remember how to do that at the moment that they need it. Because that's different than experiencing it or hearing about it or learning it. That's different because
Doing it is the difference.
moment that you need it, right? So that takes repetition. That takes repetition. Because if they don't repeat it, they don't remember when they need it. And it's no use if they can't use it when they need it. So then the question becomes, how can we get people to repeat that so often to where when they need it, they do it?
It just becomes automatic.
It's their go-to breath, right? Slow exhale, letting it all come down.
Yeah.
Right. And then they do it with their eyes closed, sit there.
Yeah.
How many times should a person do it? Should it be 1, 2
3
times?
times.
3 times.
3 times is optimal. And you'll expand these small little sacs called alveoli within the lungs. And through the research of Stanford, it is one of the quickest ways to reduce stress and anxiety out of your life. And as we just practice, it takes like 30 seconds. So it's quick, it's for free, and it's super easy. It's just 3 deep breaths with a sigh on the exhale. And just as we've been able to feel into it, we've felt a lot more calm and just centered with just doing 3 breaths.
Love it. That should be something that everybody learns how to do. The younger, the better. So this way they don't train their nervous system to stay agitated.
Mm.
Because kids, they get all emotional, but they don't regulate. They don't know how to. So then emotional stress becomes this normal state, and then when they become adults, they feel normal. It's normal to be stressed. It's normal to be agitated. So therefore, it's also normal for them to think in this way, respond in that way, because it's normal to feel that way. It's all been normalized or programmed. But if they can start early to stay in this peaceful state, to regulate their nervous system early, they'll never get used to chaos inside. And when they experience chaos on the inside, it feels off. They go, something's off. I'm used to feeling calm. Let me go back to the calm. Let me do this breath. Let me meditate. Let me do something to come back to calm. The problem is that people are so used to chaos that they don't care to come back to calm. They're so used to chaos. It's like, what do you mean? I am in chaos. I'm in chaos? Well, yeah, not really. I mean, yeah, I guess I feel a little bit, but it's normal. It's like a person who's used to fighting. They don't even care to not fight anymore. I'm used to fighting. I'm used to conflict. It seems crazy when you say it out loud. A lot of times people won't even accept it. It's like, no, I don't want fighting. No, that's it's crazy. Nobody wants fighting. Yeah, I think maybe nobody consciously wants fighting, but they are unconsciously creating the fighting because they're fighting on the inside. They are constantly used to responding in a way that creates the fights. So then, therefore, by default, they constantly create fights or bring fights wherever they go. Relationships, in person, work relationships, all the time.
It's
Because
like
they're so
this
used to it.
constant, state of stress that we live in through the Western world that we live in as well. It's like we are constantly on the go being human doings instead of being human beings. And as you've just shared, when you do switch into a more calmer state where your nervous system is regulated, you can come back into being a human being. And then from this state, you can move through life in a more harmonious, calmer way, even when those chaotic times actually happen. Because living in a state of stress is like living in survival. So why would you always want to live in survival? But also, why isn't this taught, Mike, in the schooling system? You know, we breathe 20,000 times a day. Why don't we learn this when we are kids, when it's something that just happens automatically through us? Why aren't we taught meditation to help us stay in a calm and relaxed state and to be able to regulate our nervous system?
Well, I think it's the adults don't know it. The adults run in the schools. The teachers are in the classes. If they know it, there's the criteria that they have to teach. But nobody's sitting there regulating every word, regulating the small things. It's like, cover the criteria, make sure people pass the test. So this way the school looks good. So this way we look like we're doing our job. Yeah, outside of that, there's a lot of wiggle room. Your personality, your teaching style, the small little things that you can drop in between, that is up to teachers. Imagine if they knew. If they knew this, then it's like they can make it fun, right? You're teaching a whole bunch of kids. How do we make that fun? You're teaching teenagers, right? It's a little more direct. Talk about, this is going to help you with your struggles. They just drop this in, like you mentioned. It's 30 seconds. Let's do this 3 times. All together, guys. All right, sit down, close your eyes, stay with me. Tom, stop pulling her hair. Come on, close your eyes for a moment.
Yep.
It's like, imagine they did that every day and they can make it fun. Over time, it's like it becomes more creative. It starts off with this simple breath work, and then it can turn into a game. So who knows? There's so many things that can happen once we start to play with it, and then people are exposed to it. But that's the thing, is reaching those teachers, reaching those adults. People ask me, like, Mike, there's a lot of kids that need this. And have you ever thought about teaching kids? Yes, I have. But equally important, there are the adults that need it, because the adults are influencing the kids. The parents are influencing their children, the way they're raising them, the way they can not react when tantrums are happening. I feel called to teach adults. Somebody else who's really good with kids, they can go ahead and teach kids. Great. But we got to get the adults out there practicing. Not learning, practicing. Practicing is the action that needs to happen for them to be able to actually take it into their real life. So that's why my whole message and everything we're doing is built around helping people practice, not just spreading information. Helping people practice. Like in my videos, I always tell people, try this out. But more than that, the way I present it, here, try this out right now. Look, just take 30 seconds, try this out. Just do this. Next time it happens, just do this. Just do this. Try this out. Try this out. Because I know that if they try it out, they get the experience.
Yep.
And it's like a drug. Literally, it's just like, just try this out. And when you want more, you can come to me, right? Pushing that, same thing. Try this out. I want people to get hooked on feeling good. Not because it's the final thing, but it's a stage that is needed. If they're hooked on feeling good, then that means they can't face challenges.
Yep.
Challenges don't feel good.
Yep.
So that's not the final thing. But if you get people hooked on feeling good, then they're going to constantly do the things that feel good. And when they're doing the natural things, the things that don't create a lot of consequences, and I mean, stop popping all the pills and all the stuff, but do the natural things that make you feel good, then they keep doing it. They keep feeling good. They get used to feeling good. And then they're able to detach from needing to feel good. The next stage.
It just happens.
They have to have an intention. And when they have an intention to detach from feeling good, now they're able to go and really show up in life and accomplish their goals, because their goals are challenging. And if they want to only feel good, they can't go after their goals. It's too challenging. It's going to not allow them to feel good. If their goal is to feel good, they're not going to go after it, not fully. Because when they do, no, it's too much. I don't like the way this feels. And therefore, they're thinking about themselves. So you see, the act of wanting to feel good is focusing on me. But if I don't focus on me, why am I going to do practices? So there's a path or stages. First stage is what I call victimhood. It's everybody's fault, man. It's not my fault. It's my parents' fault. It's the government's fault. You know why we can't have a great conversation? Because it's so loud over there. That's why I can't focus, because of them. Everybody's fault. I'm a victim of my environment, of people, of my ethnicity. Women have it good. Us men have it bad. Right? So then this person feels really stuck. Now from there, they move into the next stage. Power and control. I am in control of my life. I have the power to create everything. It's me, me, me. I want things done this way, that way. And the people in that stage, they're making things happen. They're the entrepreneurs. They're the ones building their life. They're successful, but they're stressed, but they're angry, but they're really attached to the results, and their emotions are all over the place. Many of them get burned out. The ones that don't just feel unsatisfied, lack of fulfillment, emptiness. So then at some point, and I say some point because some people go, I don't care, I just need more success. Cool, you're not ready yet. Then some people go, yup, what's the point, man? I gotta find this. This is not what I expected. I'm gonna look for another way to feel satisfied, because I thought this was it. It's not. So then they start to walk away. They start to go inwards and they start to figure it out. That's when they start to connect to feeling good. They go, it's not about the outside. I want the inner world to be good. I built good on out here. I want to build good inside here. Let me go ahead and start to let go. Let me start to feel good. Do the breath works, do the practices, do the meditations. At some given time frame, they're there. They're feeling good. I'm used to feeling good. Great. Now you need to walk away from the need to feel good. You need to walk away from being attached. So you can come back out and build your life, whatever that looks like. Stage 4, the middle way. In stage 3, they're in letting go, surrendering, feeling good. Right? Stage 2, power and control. Let me build my life. Let me learn how to talk, walk, and act to create my life. It's an important skill. Right? If you know how to constantly feel good, but you don't know how to create life, you're not going to be able to know how to plan, how to execute, how to say your message, how to, you know, you're not going to know how to do
You
those
could be
things.
like a monk just meditating, but nothing's actually happening in this 3D reality.
And
Yeah.
you're just hoping things will happen, but you don't know how to get your message out.
Yep.
You don't know how to make an impact, right? You don't know how to share. So it's an important skill. So I think when people are hearing this, is not that stage 2 is bad. Most people go through it in that way, and that's fine. It's because sometimes you gotta know what you don't want in order to know what you want. You gotta know what it's like to control everything, to recognize when you are controlling everything. So it's not a bad thing. But I think by explaining this, it just helps people know that it helps them recognize where they're at and where they will be going to next if they ultimately want to get to a place where they have it all. I get to go after things in my life, and I'm not attached to the outcome of my actions. I'm not attached to the gains or the losses. I'm not attached to any of it. To get there, they have to go through this path.
Mm.
So the last one, middle way. It looks really similar to power and control because on the outside, you're working hard, you're making things happen. But on the inside, there's a sense of balance. There's more peace. We're not taking it so personal. Why not absolutely no personal at all, no attachment at all? Because there's still a sense of self. I still have a desire. I have a desire to share this message. I have a desire to sit here with you and talk about this. I have a desire to be healthy. If I don't have a sense of identity, I don't have desire because there's no me. If there's no me, there's no need to take care of me. There's not even a me. And when people are in that state, they don't eat. They don't do anything. They don't take care of themselves at all because there is no self. So it's not a state that people want to be at, and most people won't. The level of dedication and sacrifice to get to that, which we're talking about letting go of all desires and not having any, it's not going to be a realistic thing for most people on the planet. There might be a small percentage, very, very, very small. Most people will never know who these people are. That that is their path, that is their purpose. They go for it. Everybody else, if they can get to this last stage, the stage 4, the middle way, where they have their identity, they have desire, but it's low. Now they're able to go after the things, but not be so attached. If
Mm.
they can get there, then this is how they can create enough balance. This is how they can actually build life and enjoy it along the way.
Right. Right. Yes. I love everything that you just shared. There were so many beautiful points that you just shared in that moment. But it's this idea of having an intention, but then detaching yourself from what the outcome can be. And it's like you're just focusing on the steps without labeling things as good or bad. Because as you stated, things aren't really bad through life. That crossroad that you might have just come to, that was just a redirection that helped you learn that lesson if you're, number one, aware of that lesson, so you can keep persevering along the journey through those stages that you shared. And the ultimate goal is to find fulfillment within yourself, because when your internal world is good, it will reflect your external world. So how does one, number one, have a goal in place when they've got this true desire, they're working towards something, they might have a mission, they might be working on a business at the moment, but because we're emotional beings, they're going through an emotional roller coaster. And because we're labeling things, it's lowering our emotions to fear, to, anger, to maybe resentment. And through that, how do we then transcend our emotions maybe to a higher frequency of love, of gratitude, of appreciation, where hopefully in that state we're able to attract what we truly desire?
So how do we transcend those emotions, or how do we let them go,
Mm.
right? So in the body, we need to relax. Emotions can't stay in the body if it's relaxed, if the tension is not there. People are unconsciously tensing up. They're not like purposely trying to tense up. If they can relax in their body, then the energy can flow. Emotions emotions happen because the body gets really dense on the level of body. If the body's relaxed, say whatever you want in your head. This, I don't like this, I don't like that, this person's a bad person, my life sucks. Relax in your body and you don't feel emotionally charged. But what happens is that when people are having dialogue in their mind and they're blaming and complaining, their body tenses up as a response, which then allows the emotion to build, allows energy to build, allowing the pressure to build. And that supports more dialogue in their head. So, on the level of the body, relax. When a person tries to relax, what happens is they can't relax very deep. There's only a certain level of relaxation that they can get to because their body is holding on to tension, certain areas more than others. So they can't relax really deep. So then they need to do things, activities, they need to change up things to get into a deeper relaxed state. And they got to get their body to that deeper relaxed state every day. So then over time, the body starts to remember what it feels like to be relaxed. It's like a person going, okay, you're tense up. Now relax. Okay, I'm relaxed now. No, you're still holding tension. Well, I can't let go any more than this. This is the most I can let go. Look, you see? Look, it's so shaky, it's relaxed. Yeah, but you're still holding tension. You sure? Yeah. So it's like, how do they go from here to here? Well, they need to do things now, right? They need to breathe. They need to massage the tension out. Maybe we can try shaking it out. Maybe we can try extending it out to the full range of motion so this way you're able to extend it out. So that's where the training comes in. And that's where I apply the 5 methods. So this way we can go ahead and get the tension out. So it's not just like one way, because there's so many ways that works. Breathing is excellent for moving tension, moving the energy. But strength training is also excellent for increasing the circulation and allowing the energy to flow. But if we shake it, it also helps. If we stretch it out, because it's so curled up here, and we need to stretch it out so this way it can stay flat. So we fully extend it out. Stretching is nice. Bringing our attention to here is also nice, right? Using our own awareness and consciousness. Level the body, let go of tension. Get the body used to being relaxed. So now on mind. The mind, the most important thing is to get ourselves out of the way, to not think about ourselves. To do that, we need to not judge. To not judge, we have to be okay with how things are at the moment. The biggest thing is ourself. When we talk about this, a person thinks, how can I improve if I'm okay with the way I am? If I'm overweight and I'm okay with myself being overweight, then what would drive me to lose weight? Right? I'm unhealthy and I can't breathe. And I'm okay with the fact that I can't breathe. Then what's going to get me to want to do something to improve my breathing? Right? Seems like it's a paradox. They directly go against each other. So when I was figuring this out, I was questioning this and I didn't really have an answer. I was like, I know self-acceptance seemed to be the thing to do, but I don't know how to answer that question. How can I go and do something about it if I accept myself? And over time, I start to understand the answer. When we are accepting ourselves, we are accepting ourselves at this very moment in time. Now, when we want to accomplish the goal of breathing better, I have asthma and I want to breathe better. At this moment, I need to be okay with myself. Now, once I'm okay with myself, I don't care to go and I'm not labeling myself. I'm not trying to wish that I can do things differently, that I am different. Now, in this state, what do I want to do? I want to improve my asthma. I want to breathe better. I want to expand my lungs. I want to do this practice 3 times a day. I want to do that. Okay. So when I focus on this goal, there's myself involved, but I'm not thinking about myself. I'm just thinking about these actions. For why do I want to do this? I focus on myself for a moment. When I focus on myself, I get in the way. The moment when I stop focusing on myself and I focus on the action, I can get out of the way again. So when I need to make change for my life, I focus on myself, my life, my preference, my wants, what's good for me, what's bad, etc. I'm in the way. Focusing on myself right now, thinking about all that isn't taking action. I'm not doing anything here in this physical world, but I have to focus on myself to determine what I want, what I need to do. Now I made the plan. I'm going to do this, do that, and I need to wake up, I need to do this practice, show up this place. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Stop focusing on myself. Focus on that action, those execution. Don't focus on myself when I'm focusing on this. That's how we do it. This has to be understood because they look like it's all together. No, it's not. Why? I remember when I started to learn about this, I'm at my house and I'm in Austin. And years ago, my friend gives me this book by Bruce Lee, The Art of Living. It's a Bruce Lee book. It's talking about living. So basically, he talks about his philosophy for life. Now, he has a lot of examples of fighting, of Jeet Kune Do. And I remember reading this book, while simultaneously reading things in the Bible, reading Buddhist teachings, reading things that are taught by Dr. Joe, and also Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. I'm dabbling in all these things because I'm trying to find this universal understanding. And I remember reading this section where he talks about how there's no man punching. It's just punch. Don't focus on you punching, just focus on the punch. When you're fighting, don't think about what your opponent did before and what they're going to do next. Just focus on the fighting in that moment. So I took that as like an analogy of real life, and then started to understand when people talk about presence, and then another section where somebody's talking about ego, and I started to understand about not focusing on ourself and focusing on just the action. It was years later when I can actually do it, but I first started to have that understanding. And years later, this is 3.5 years ago. So I've been on this journey for 10 years. Only 3.5 years ago was I able to actually do it. You see, so first there's like learning about it, and then there's actually the execution. So I'm in the bedroom. Natalia is 8 months pregnant with Riza, our first child, and she's sitting on the ground. This was like 8 o'clock at night. She looks up at me. She's like, "Mike, what are we gonna do? Baby's coming. We're running low on savings. What are we gonna do?" So I was standing up and I was like, "Okay, don't worry. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get this program out there. We're gonna build a website. We're gonna build these funnels. I'm gonna film everything, get it all edited. I got this." And she looks at me and she's like, "Well, but you've been saying this for the last 3.5 years. When are you gonna do it?" And so I was like, and I put my finger up, I had my mouth open, and I was about to go and tell her, we're gonna do this. This is why it didn't happen. All this stuff, and just go into defense mode. And then I recognized at that moment, I'm looking at her. I became present. I looked at her, and I realized she's not trying to attack me. I don't need to go ahead and defend myself, which is what I was about to do. What she said was the absolute truth. And at that moment, when I realized it was the truth, there was no need to explain, to justify. I put my finger down. I closed my mouth. And I looked at her and I said, "Okay, I'm going to do it." And I walked out of the bedroom and I started to work that moment.
Mm.
I started working, it was around about 8 something, 8:30 ish. I worked till about 2 a.m. that morning and then I went to bed. Next day I woke up. In the morning I woke up, started to work. I worked till the nighttime, went to sleep, and then I repeated that every day. I wasn't doing that before. I wasn't working from morning to night. I was barely working. I didn't feel like working. I worked hard. I wanted to relax. I wanted to enjoy life. I wanted to not have a schedule. I wanted to be able to go to cafes, go hang out. I'm in Bali. There's a lot of cool stuff to do. Be in the flow. That's what I wanted. But after that, when she told me that, I realized I need to go and step up. I can't expect her to go and build things and she's about to have a baby. I need to go ahead and focus on building this because I have been talking for 3.5 years and not been doing enough. So I just focused on working. And 3 weeks later, well, the baby comes in about a month. And then about 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, no, 3 weeks after Riza was born, my sister passed away. And before she passes away, we can tell, right? I'm on the phone with people. I was sitting there having to make a decision. Do I need to fly over to the US? We're in Bali. So do I need to fly over to the US and go and try to take care of her, try to handle things, be there, hold her hand? Or should I stay in Bali and focus on working and focus on taking care of the working was one thing, but focus on taking care of my wife who just had a baby. We didn't have people around like we do now. Right now, you go to my house, it's like we have all these systems, all these people around running things. It was just me and her. And I looked at that and it was like, okay, it was very clear to me. I really had to feel into it because, it's my sister, right? And I feel like she may need me. But I looked at the situation and I asked a really honest question. Is she going to pass? What do I like? What do I really know inside? Inside, I knew, yes, it's going to happen. Can I do anything about her passing? No. I can ease it. I can say some last words. Yes. But I can't do anything. It's going to happen. Now, on this case, here with my wife and son, do they need me? Yes. If I leave, what would happen? Well, she's not going to get the nutrition. He's not going to get the support. It's going to be really stressful. It's going to be really tough. Can I do something about it if I'm here? Oh, yeah. Yes, I can. So it became clear I need to stay here. So I stayed. I took care of them. I took care of the sister stuff, talking to all these people from when she passed. And then afterwards, there's lots of things to take care of. I'm on the phone, boom, 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 being the support system. And I'm working. So now, fast forward, about 5 months later, one day, nighttime, it's about maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I'm sitting there working. I stop for a moment and I look and I realize, wow, the last 6 months since I decided I'm going to do it, I got a lot done. More than I usually have by far. I know how much I can usually get done. I got a lot more done. I'm getting things done that usually would take me a long time. And here I am just powering through it. What happened? What changed? And I'm thinking, was there a new strategy that I'm applying? No, I haven't learned any new strategies, new methods of working. So I'm sitting there thinking about it. And then I look at my calendar and I'm like, well, my calendar's really filled. And I haven't had a filled calendar for many years. So that's different. That means I'm working more, doing a lot more stuff. So then I thought, well, my calendar's filled. I haven't been wanting to have this filled. Okay. Why? Because I've been wanting to live free and not have this calendar control my life. And I haven't been caring about that, which is why it's filled. So I started backtracking. So that means I haven't been caring about what I feel like doing. I haven't been caring about what I want, which is why my calendar's filled. Okay. So if I haven't been caring about what I want, that's why I've been doing more work. Okay. So I haven't been caring about what I want. So that means I haven't been thinking about what I want. Okay. Which means I haven't been thinking about myself, which is why I haven't been thinking about what I want. If I haven't been thinking about myself, that means I've been selfless. Less, lack of self. Selfless. Okay. And if I've been selfless, then that means I haven't been living out of my ego, because ego is self. Oh, right. All these years I've been learning about letting go of the ego, which is being selfless, which is not thinking about myself, which is why I'm able to get so many things done. Wow, that makes sense. Okay, I got it. That's why. And then as I was having that realization, guess what? Anxiety came in. Pressure came in. And I go, uh-oh. Wait, what's happening? Oh, right. I'm thinking about myself right now. Uh-oh. I'm stopping this. Oh, I'm messing it up. You know what I did? I was like, oh, let it go.
Yep.
Let's go back to work. Don't even be like, I got it. Just keep working.
Yeah.
And I can't fully let it go after that. I knew. But once I knew, I couldn't focus on it, because if I did, I couldn't do it.
You had a glimpse of what it felt like. Two things really come up, Mike, is the power of action and having a why that's bigger than yourself. You seem like you got to a stage where you didn't think, you just did. Because thinking about it got yourself into this analysis paralysis, over-explaining yourself.
I did think, because that was something, because I thought it was all about not having thoughts. How do you plan? How do you plan if you don't have thoughts? How do you visualize? That's all thoughts, right? So I was thinking, but I wasn't thinking about myself. I was thinking about what needs to be done.
For the family,
for the business, build this, to connect to this, and I need to go ahead and prep the food, and then make sure Natalia needs me. All of this stuff I'm planning, right? But I'm not thinking about myself in this. Now, to be very, very clear, so people understand, it's always me living my life. It's always me. It's always going to be me, because it's my life. But I don't need to think about myself and the action and the plan. I can just think about the plan. It's always going to be me throwing the punch. But I don't need to think about me first and then the punch. I just focus on the punch.
Do it.
Right? It's always been me breathing. Right? So that was the thing. I focused on all the actions and all the plans, but I didn't think about me. So then when someone is trying to wrap their head around that concept, because it's almost like it's very conceptual. It's almost kind of etheric. It's out there. How do we ground that thing so it's practical and it's actionable? So don't think about what you like, right? Don't think about that. When you are making big plans, that has to be in consideration. You have to think about you, to think about what you like and what you want, goals and all that. But don't constantly think about what you like. Because when you do, you think about you, ego comes in, you're getting in the way. So don't think about what you'd like all the time, okay? Once you figure out your plans and your path and your execution, stop thinking about what you like. Just the execution. Don't think about what you prefer. Same thing, just a different way of saying it. Don't think about what you feel like doing. Same thing. Don't think about constantly what's right and wrong. That's similar, but it's different. Right? Because if you think about what's right and wrong, then that is basically thinking about what you like. It's very similar, but what it does is it constantly gets in the way of action. Now, there's a fine line to that, because someone goes, well, what happens if you don't think about what's right and wrong, then you just do random things and it could be wrong and you're still doing it? Technically, yes. But it actually, when you actually execute it, it works itself out. Here's why. See, I didn't know all this before, which is why if someone goes, do this, they can't, because they have this question and they can't answer it. If they can't answer it, they won't do it. I'm not going to do wrong things to them. That's crazy, man. I mean, I get it, but no, I got to think what's right and wrong. Right. Yes. Except when you're not fighting on the inside, when you're not upset, angry, stressed, when you have peace on the inside, you don't need to think about what's right and wrong. You know what's right and wrong. You don't have to think about it. You know. You have discernment. You don't need to judge. What's the difference? I wrote this out the other day because I was thinking about that. What's the difference between discernment and judgment? Judgment, I label a person or I label a situation as right or wrong.
Yep. Which creates separation.
Yes. This is right because this is wrong because of that, because of these things. I label it. Discernment. I need to focus on this, or I need to focus on what's right for me. What action should I do? Where should I pay attention to? Now, in order to know this, I need to know if something is right and wrong. Right. But the focus is on what I need to bring my attention to. But I need to know what's right and wrong. So if we look at units of attention, let's say 100 units of attention. In this case, 80% on me. Where do I need to direct my attention? 20% on what things are right, in my opinion, and what's wrong. Now, that's discernment. Judgment. 80% on the label. This is right because of this. This is wrong because of that. These are 80% of my attention on that. 20% on me. How am I going to react to it? You see? Very similar, but the amount of attention that we give it makes a total difference. Because in reality, both are happening. Discernment is happening, allowing us to choose what we need to do. The judgment is happening, letting us know what it is, right or wrong. They're both always happening. But if we bring a lot of attention to judging things, then ego is at play a lot. If we bring our attention to discernment, then ego is very low. And when ego is very low, emotions are very low, which means we don't go off center as much. We go from here, come off a little bit, come back, versus whoosh, come back. Another real life example. We're having this conversation. You and I both can hear the construction. But how much of our attention is labeling? Now, we know that the construction is not good for this conversation. But how much of our attention is focused on labeling as not good, right? Versus how much of our attention is here in this conversation? Real life example. If we were to go ahead and be in our head thinking, this is bad because of this, and I wish it'd be that, and have 80% of our attention there, and only 20% here, then it's hard to pay attention to the conversation.
We wouldn't be able to be present and be able to go back and forth in conversation as flow because our intention is like 80% with the construction, right?
So real life example, right? And this is always happening. It's always happening. So the ability to control our attention determines if we're able to do this. Meditation is part of that practice, where we direct attention. If I direct my attention out here, I'm able to focus on action. If I direct my attention in my mind, I can have my eyes open, my attention's in my mind. I'm visualizing, thinking about this and that. Or I close my eyes and direct my attention here. Or I open my eyes and direct my attention there. All right. All of it is just a control of attention. Train the attention, and now we have control over ourselves. If we can't control our attention, we can't control ourselves. People that have high discipline can control their attention. People that are at peace can control their attention. All of these things that people want, they can control their attention, because the world is the distraction. And if we can control our attention, then we can operate throughout all the distractions and chaos.
Yep. You talked a lot about action, and I want to help someone here too as well. Because sometimes when we want to take action and we're trying to be perfect at the thing that we're trying to take action on, it stops us from actually doing the thing in the first place. And I think that you share a principle where it's like being okay with being crappy at the thing.
Yep.
Can you touch further and deeper into that methodology? What does that mean?
People often have the skill sets to do things. They have the time, they have the experience, they have everything it takes to do things. They may not be able to do it well because they haven't done it enough. They haven't practiced enough. But they can still do it. They can still take the step. But they don't oftentimes because they want it to be perfect. They want to do a good job. They want to fully show up and be the best that they can be. So this idea of being okay with doing a crappy job, the idea is, if you're okay with just showing up and doing a crappy job at it, then you're not going to be afraid of the outcome of what you do. Because the worst case is you do something and it's a bad job. It's a bad performance. What this allows a person to do is take action. What this allows a person to do is to actually take enough action to get good at the action. Repetition. But a person who can't be okay with doing a crappy job, then they're not going to take as much action as they could. Because every action is so calculated, so planned out, so practiced upon in private that it's not really done in real life. And if you want to get good at real life, you got to do real life. Right? It's like, I'm going to practice playing a game, but I'm not really going to play the game. We're going to play it on paper. No, get out there and kick that damn ball, man. You know, make the practice feel like real life, right? Let's pretend like there are people to go against. No, we're all on the same team. Dress up and wear the other jerseys and let's go. Right?
Yep.
Make it mimic real life, even though it's practice. So this principle really helps people get themselves out of the way of needing to judge how they do everything, because then they just end up not doing it. And when people actually can be okay with just doing a bad job, then they'll actually do things. And when they do things, sometimes they'll be surprised at the outcome. It was better than what they thought, because they're in their head thinking it's bad. And if they're thinking that it's bad, it will create a bad job. If they're thinking that I'm going to do a bad job, I might not even do it at all. But if they don't even focus on that and they just don't care, then they can let their expression naturally flow out, and they'll always do the best that they possibly could based on their knowledge, their skill set, their energy, the moment, and whatever's around. They're always able to create the best outcome, even if the best outcome ends up being crappy, but it'll still be maximized to its potential. And the important thing is they can actually take action. They do enough of that, they get good. Everybody should do that. But this means letting go of the perfection. This means being okay with the fact that you don't constantly focus on the idea of you. People always try to show up in a certain way. They always want people to look at them in a certain way. They always want people to think of them in a certain way. Let it go. That's how you get in the way. You get in the way of everything you do because you want people to look at you in a certain way, think of you in a certain way, appear to be a certain way, represent this title that you're trying to do, represent your brand and all of that. You can have all of that. You have to. In this world, what do? Oh, I'm a human being that... No. It needs to be an execute. I'm a teacher. I'm a practitioner of this. I'm a doctor. I'm this. It needs to be clear. So we operate in labels, judgment. But we can't constantly focus on those judgments. We only judge and label when absolutely needed. And when it's not needed, stop, don't do it. Now, this creates the balance. This allows us to be able to communicate and to show up and to give clarity to people, right? When we're explaining things, we have to judge and say things. But when we don't need to explain things, when we're not having to go explain our title because it's our first time meeting them, we don't. We don't do it in our head. We don't think about it. Stop. Now we're not getting in the way of ourselves. And when we do, it's the bare minimum. So now we spend more time every day not being in the way of ourselves.
Yeah.
That's how we do it.
Yep. So how do we then make it more simple and automatic for us? Because when I started diving into personal development, I picked up this book, The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. My habits were just terrible. I couldn't wake up early in the morning. I used to look at construction workers like, I don't know how you're waking up at 5 a.m., but there's absolutely no way I'm doing that. But I started implementing these practices within the book. It was like a 20-20-20 formula. 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of reflection, meditation, journaling, and 20 minutes of learning. And as I started practicing this, I started to realize that the energy that I was externally putting out into the world that wasn't getting me anywhere, I started directing it inwards and started to receive these results from it, like in terms of how I was feeling mentally and physically. And there's some research done on it where to make a practice automatic, it takes in between 0 to 66 days, somewhere around there. How have you set up your life, Mike, for things just to be automatic? So the process is so much easier for you than to not think about it and just go, boom, that's the action. That's what I need to do. And this is helping me continue on with what my goal actually is.
That's a good question. There are certain things that I set in place to make it easier, right? These habits. Habits are really important. They're really helpful. For me, I wake up in the morning, do practice. Sometimes my practice is really short. Sometimes it's longer. It depends on what I have going on for the day, how much time, or what I feel like doing. That took a long time to get to that. Before, in my earlier years, it wasn't as loose. I had to go ahead and get in 60 minutes in the morning. If I don't, I can't be in a good state. But over time, I practiced being in a good state. Doing a long practice wasn't as needed. In the evening time, do the same. Clear everything. So this way I can go ahead and sleep and not carry stuff in my body, all these thoughts in my head. Morning and evening. Besides that, all the other flows with kids, with all the new challenges, new stuff happening, we're always traveling, we're moving all this stuff. We have somewhat habits throughout that, but it evolves and changes. It's good. The perfect scenario is having habits and having a system throughout the day, because this allows things to be consistent. Your output is consistent. The way you feel is consistent. Everything's consistent, right? That's the repetition. That repetition makes everything move forward in a nice pace. Now, welcome to real life. Real life, all random type of challenges are happening. We can control some, but some we maybe shouldn't control either. Because to control everything is to say that we know the future. That's why we're going to control it, because I already know this is going to happen, so I'm going to do it this way and this way and this way, because I know the future. Yeah, well, I think when most people look into this, they'll realize they actually don't know the future, and that the idea of control is actually, it's just an idea. People aren't actually controlling things. They think they are, but in reality, they're not. When someone goes, well, you see, I'm controlled. See, look, I control my arm and I lift up this glass. Yes, but what determined you to even use that example as control? You think you did this because you decided to do this. Maybe all of your programming made you decide to do that as the example of control. Somebody else might have did control in a different analogy, or not even do an example. Why would you go hold this glass up and do it this way, as shown as an example? I think I did this by myself, but in reality, all of my programming allowed me to use this as the analogy, as the example. The programming came from how I was born, my parents, all of those environmental things that I did not control, all the way to rippling into this moment to where the way that I'm wired, programmed, and all of that, my decision to talk about this example is in this way. There's that level of explaining lack of control. Another one that I really like to do is having people take it to the next level, because that might not be convincing enough. They go, yeah, but I still feel like I'm controlling my arm. Okay, sure. Wake up in the morning and talk about the outcome of your day. Plan it out. You're going to do this. You're going to execute this, do this, do this, do this. Plan out those things and then go live it and see what happens. I'll tell people to go do that. What's going to happen is they're going to do their best and try to execute it. And they're going to find that things will show up that's out of what they wrote or what they planned. And if they really want to try to prove it to themselves that they have control over everything, then they're going to say no to this, and try to just stick to their plan. And if they do, they're going to find that the only reason why they're sticking to their plan is for the sake of proving that they have control. When in reality, it isn't the better way to do things, that they should have went off to the side, that they should have said yes to this thing, that they should have went with the flow. And when a person does this every single day, they start to come to the realization that they're looking at a small ripple effect in their life. But the ripple effect of their actions and the actions of every single thing that's happening is so vast that it's impossible for them to be able to control the outcome of their day when it comes to getting what they want. That. Now, if they don't have a desire, they don't have a goal, control your day. Well, I can just lock myself in a room and go, my day today is I'm going to be in the room the whole day. Yeah, you can do that. You have full control. But when you have a goal and you want to accomplish the goal and you're going to try to control how you're going to get there,
Won't happen. You create this resistance away from the goal. Sometimes what you chase actually runs away.
because we don't know how things will happen. We think that we're going to go and do it this way. But in order to know that is we have to be able to know the effect of every single action we do. And the ripples are great, are a lot. We have to know how every person is going to think and how they're going to act, because our goal is going to involve other people. It's like, how can we know? This is our second podcast, right? The first one, the camp settings were all messed up, and how do we know that was going to happen? You didn't know. I wasn't planning it, but it happened. You can control the fact that certain buttons weren't pressed. You can control that. Now, were you planning that in your head? Absolutely not. You want to have a good podcast. Let's knock this out. I wasn't in that, and yet it happened. There's so many examples. When we actually start to look into this, we'll find examples almost on a daily basis, which then over time, when we do this enough, we realize that we need to do our best to create plans to go after what we want. But when things are unfolding, pay attention. Don't get attached to the plans, because we were most likely not accurate in everything. There are certain things that we're able to plan out and actually be accurate, because those things we may have done it a lot of times. So we're able to have higher chances of estimating or calculating the ripple effect. But when we're in new grounds and we are going after things that we've never done, which is often what happens when people are setting goals, they're not trying to accomplish the same thing, they're accomplishing something different. That means you're in new territory. You may not have the experience that you need to understand all of the calculations, which means we're not going to have an accurate plan. There's no problem. Plan, and then when we execute, see what happens and pivot according to what's happening at the moment. And so we now are in this middle ground, in stage 4. Make plans, go after what you want, and as things happen, pivot and and move. Don't get attached to the plans.
Yeah, it just comes back to your point, which is just detachment and letting go.
Yep.
Is yes, the podcast that we recorded a couple of days ago, we didn't get emotional about it. We're like, it sucks. We recorded a 2-hour podcast. It seems like the universe just wants us to jump on another podcast together as well. So what another beautiful opportunity to share another beautiful conversation with one another. If we got emotional and said, oh, stuff this, and man, maybe wouldn't have had this opportunity and actually been able to share a deeper conversation with one another.
Yeah, this conversation is different than last
Yeah.
one. I got some sleep.
Yeah, I know.
And I want to point out, like, when we say the universe, another way we can say it is we both wanted to have a good podcast that wasn't just like, random audio. We want to have a good podcast. And so because we wanted it, we didn't go ahead and get attached to the fact that the last one didn't work out. What do we do at that moment? When it didn't work out, let's do another one. You take out the time, I take out the time. Nigel and Andy takes out the time. Let's all come here. Let's do it again. Because we want a certain outcome. We didn't get it the first time, so we do it again. See, that's the balance. If we didn't care, if our desire was, well, we did it, we spent our time, maybe, and we can say, maybe the universe, or we could have said it the other way. Hey, and the universe just didn't want this podcast to happen. That's why I don't speak in that way very often, just because the universe, as if this saying that the universe is wanting all these things, so therefore it's not my desire, it's the universe's desire. What's the difference? What's the difference between, when you say universe, what are we really saying? God, which is existence, which is the creator of everything. That means God created me, created you. Our will is the will of God. What's the difference? If God created everything and go, okay, I create dog, I created you, you bark because I wanted you to bark. So now the dog barks. I'm executing the will of God. I'm barking because I was created to bark. So then now, imagine we are created to want this podcast to happen. So we are executing our will. So we can say universe wanted it, or we can say we wanted it. But because we don't control, because there's a lot of other beings that are also executing their will, and then a combination of everybody's will being executed simultaneously at one time, which is why we can't control the outcome of everything.
And so are we the creators of our own reality?
We can say yes. Technically, yes. However, our reality, there's already a predetermined reality already that we are likely to experience. It's like this. This goes into the question of destiny versus free will. Destiny. This is what's meant to happen. You can't change it. It's destiny. Free will. I can do whatever the heck I want to do. Right? So, free will. At this moment, we can do anything. Anything. Right? When I thought about that, I had a vision in my head. Throwing this into the pool. This thing into the pool. See, look, as an example. See, look, we threw it in there. Right? We can do anything. The vision came in my head for a moment. Now, that's free will. At any moment right now, endless possibilities. We can throw these chairs in there, right? We can go to the construction guys and go, yo, guys, can you guys give us another 30 minutes so we can actually have some peace and quiet? We could. It's not that far. We just walk there. Possibilities is endless at every moment. Now, destiny. Destiny is based on your personality and my personality, our desires, our goals, all of these things. What is the likelihood of what we're going to do? Are we going to go walk all the way over there? Is it really worth it? Is it really needed? and try to go and convince these guys and, hey, pause for the next 30 minutes. Right, take us 15 minutes just to get over there. Right. Why would I throw this in there? I like this tea. But I could. It's a possibility. What's going to stop me? Right. But based on our programs and based on our desires and all of that, the possible outcomes have narrowed down to a small possibility. Sometimes maybe just one. That's destiny. So they're both simultaneously happening. So can we change destiny? Absolutely. What's the likelihood of changing destiny? Slim. You see. So then therefore, if a person recognizes this, how would they use this? What would they do with this? Because that became the next question. Once I wrap my head around it, it's like, okay, so how should I act? Go do what you want. Go after what you want. All the time. All the time, all the time, all the time. Well, what happens if it's bad? Go after it.
Because then you know what you want.
Yeah. What's bad? Because you do something that you consider is bad? Well, you're a creation of God. If you couldn't have done anything outside of what should not be done, because everything exists. So then that being said, if you want to do something that harms people, you want to do something that hurts people, there's a reason why you want to hurt people, because they hurt you. You're feeling all of it. So if you really want to go and hurt people, that's really what you want to the point you're going to execute it, okay, do it. See what happens. And what happens when you hurt people? You're going to suffer some consequences. It's going to come around some way or form, right? Either people are going to hurt you, you're going to get locked up, or none of that happens, and it's just going to eat you up inside. Look what happens when people go and hurt other people. PTSD follows them for their life. Dreams, nightmares, all this stuff. I'm not even talking about the karma. That is the karma, but it's probably more. But did they actively choose it? Was that destiny?
Is it a balance of both, Mike, where we do have free will through the life that we're living on this earth that might be in alignment with our destiny? Because I believe that we all have a responsibility to find what our gifts and talents are. Once we find what our gifts and talents are, we can actually work within those gifts and talents. We're doing things that we love. And so when we're doing things that we love, we might be then working towards our destiny, and then we have free will to make choices, because we always have a choice. So through choice, we can then focus on the steps to what our destiny we feel is, because we don't actually know, because we can never connect the dots looking forward and read the future.
Exactly, which is why we don't focus on the concept of destiny. Because the focus on concept of destiny is to say that everything is going to already happen the way it is, and I don't need to execute my will, which means I don't need to go after what I want.
Got you.
The execution idea of destiny is after fact. When things happen and we're not okay with it, remember destiny. Let it be. Before, don't focus on it. Because if you focus on it, you do nothing. You don't strive your will. You don't go and make things happen. So it's a nice way of reminder when we are attached to an outcome. When we're attached to something not working out, when we're attached to something we don't like, we can't let it go. Remember, destiny. It's supposed to have happened. It's okay. Let it be. Okay. Let it be. What do you want? I want something different. Go after it. Right? Go after it. Oh, I'm so upset that the podcast didn't happen last night, or it didn't work out. Yeah, that's universe. So what do you want? I want it to work out. What do you need to do? Send a message, reschedule it, make it happen. Focus on that. Right? So we only think about destiny and when we can't let go. But other than that, don't focus on it. Right? Focus on what you want. Focus on your will. Make things happen in your life. And what happens is you have the right to change at every moment. You want this one moment, and next moment you don't. then change. Then go after what you want now. So now people are free. They're free to choose. They're free to do things. But something to remember from this is that if a person is running a program, then they think that they are free, but in reality, they're not. But they're always running a program. So it's not something that a person needs to focus on. They only would think about this when they are not creating the life that they want. I want to go and live in the jungle. You know, forget the jungle. I want to live on the beach. I want to live on the beach and have mountains in the background. Okay. Now I'm striving for it. Years later, it's not happening. Now I need to take a look at my programs. I need to go and let go of something because somehow I may not be doing what I need to move in that direction.
There's a blockage there.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I need to go and change something. So let me take a look at the programs that are written in me, seeing what am I doing to push that away? What am I doing to sabotage that thing, you know, or procrastinating against it, right? Now, and then change that. So what's my goal? Still the same. I want to go ahead and live in that way. But right now my goal is to go, and the path of doing so is to change something within myself because I think that I should be further ahead. And I think that it's me. That's why we're not further ahead. I'm doing something that's stopping it. So then I focus on myself, change up certain things, rewrite some stuff, and then keep going.
The only way out is in.
Yeah.
The only way out is in.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a. Let's do the 3 breaths.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Okay.
So, 3, 2, 1, in. Sharp. Sigh at the mouth. 2, in. Sharp. Sigh at the mouth. Last one, fully in. Sharp. At the mouth. It's the breath, but then also the reminder to just keep the body relaxed as well is just another element to that practice.
I love it. Such a fast way to drop in, to clear. I call them go-to practices. Little small practices, little small things. Needs to be really, really quick, really simple to just do throughout the day. Why not? Whenever you need it. Somebody can do it 10, 15 times throughout the day. Then they never let the stress build up. They never let anxiety, never let it build up. It starts to come up because of some challenges, and then it goes away. And then it comes up and goes away. And then as they practice on letting go of judgment, practicing on getting themselves out the way, it doesn't build up as fast. But then on the other hand, now that it's not building up as fast, now that they're not getting in the way, they're doing bigger things in life. They're going after it. So what happens? It builds up really fast again, right? Bigger challenges. So then they do a lot of stuff to let it go until eventually they reach another stage where the challenges that they're going after isn't big challenges anymore because they leveled up. They increased skill set, experience, performance, right? So now the cycle continues. That's what happens. A person may do a podcast in the beginning, the first one, and they're kind of all nervous. And then by podcast number 500, just chatting, having a conversation. And then fast forward 5 years later, they're on stage speaking to thousands, right? And then they're perfectly comfortable. And then afterwards, they go ahead and meet some big celebrity, famous person to some show that's millions, and they're uncomfortable. Fast forward 5 years later, they're talking to a lot of people at that level. They're just having a conversation. And then before you know it, they're in some movie. And they're like, oh, that's first time on a movie. Ooh, I'm a little nervous, but I'm okay. Fast forward 5 movies later. That's how it happens. And when somebody's in the beginning going, wow, I can't, you're only able to do that because you're insert name. Because you're Tom Cruise. Because you're Dwayne Johnson. Because you're... Oh, man.
If anything, it's harder. It's harder because you're putting yourself in that environment, in those situations where you are the stage. And you've had many situations like that, Mike. And as you say that, it's like when we change our state, we change the story. It's linked.
Yeah.
We change our state, we change the story. And your work really does this, you know, because it combines the element of movement, of massage, of breath work, of meditation, which is changing our internal state. And it's like we break things down to its fundamental core, which is our physiology. A great framework is a RAMP framework that I learned, RAMP. We change our physiology down at the bottom, which then changes our mindset, because the mind and body is connected into one, which then changes the action. That's what the A stands for. We take automatic action, what you've been talking about, and then that creates our reality, our new reality that we actually want to experience within life. RAMP, but it's like this, it can be positive or it can be a negative feedback loop depending on what your habits and behaviors that you move through life in. That's why I love your work. Honestly, the Flow 60 practice has been transformational when it comes to my morning practice. I still do the 5 a.m. club 20-20-20 formula in the morning. And for the exercise, it's the Flow 60 practice. And then it's the breath work that I love so much. And then it's maybe reading a book or listening to an inspiring podcast. What can you share with someone if you had to transform a message into someone that's beyond words? What would that message be for that someone?
Message beyond words.
Yeah, it might be like...
Can I use words?
Yes, yes. If you can transmit it into a listener's body, that may be beyond words. What's a feeling that's been like transformational for you that you feel when you feel it, you like, life's great, life's phenomenal, life's blissful. You're moving through love.
You are already the person that you've been wanting to be. You're that right now. We always try to imagine ourselves being different, imagine ourselves in the future. Right now, the way that we are, this is exactly how we need to be. Right now, the way we are at this moment, this very, very moment. I want someone to embody that and recognize that. Really, really live that. You know what that means? You stop trying to imagine yourself being different. There's no more of that. You are the moment you are right now. Your skills, the way you look, the way you're acting, all of that, that's perfect the way it is. You have the way you are is everything that you need to do the things that you need to do right now. You don't need to be more to do those things. You got goals, you got things that is on your list that you need to execute and you go after. You don't need to change the way you are to do those things. You are perfect the way you are to do those things. And the act of doing those things will change who you are. But you don't need to worry about that. That will happen naturally. Just do those things because you are already equipped with everything that you need. Every person right now, the way they are at that moment, right now, they can do the things that they need to do. Once they recognize that, they just start working on the things they need to do. They start to move forward in their life, whatever that is.
Wonderful, wonderful. Just lastly, because I am respectful of your time, Mike, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you think will be of value for the listeners that are listening to this podcast?
Relationships. People often when they come to me, some of them are in some issues with their relationships. We live in a world of relationships. Relationships with friends, relationships with our partners, with coworkers and business partners, kids, relationships. Our relationships determine a lot of the quality of our life, if not entirely. Be okay with how people are. Stop trying to change them. Let them act the way they act. Let them think the way they think. Do your best to accept them the way they are. Our level of personal development can be identified by how well we can do that. If we can do a good job at that, which is letting them be the way they are and showing them love, showing them respect, showing them kindness. Our level of personal development is identified by that, not by what we think it is. No. If we can let a person be, show them respect, show them love, kindness, and still let them be, especially when they disagree with us, especially when they have different ways of looking at things and doing things. When what they do, we don't like, and we can still show them respect and kindness and love, it shows how much we have grown. And on the other hand, if we can't, it also shows things that we can work on. When we start to move towards that, what happens is people are able to accept themselves. Because up until then, they're doing the same thing that we are. They're trying to get people to see them in a certain way so that they can be accepted, so that they can be loved, so that they can belong. But when we can give them what they want without them having to change, then they realize that they don't need to change, that they can be okay with themselves. And the act of being okay with themselves changes them. The act of self-acceptance changes a person. So when a person goes, I'm okay with who I am right now. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop trying to be different. Right. I'm overweight. I'm okay. Fine. I'm not going to try to be thin and think that I'm going to let it go. I'm going to love this body and be okay with it. Now what happens is they stop eating from stress. They stop eating from guilt. they start to let go of the guilt. They start to let go of the stress, because a lot of the stress was like, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. My life is so bad. When they let that go, they don't have the same fuel to go and eat bad. They don't have the same embarrassment to that they have when they walk into the gym. They don't have the same self-judgment of, I can't do this workout like those fit people. That's why I don't do it. They don't have that. So now they go, I'm going to do it because it feels good, not because I'm trying to look better and do all this stuff. I don't care. I'm going to do it because it feels good. They have another reason. I'm going to go do the things that I want, and I'm not afraid of showing up. They become a different person. That's how it happens. So people do change. They do improve, but they improve by having self-acceptance. And the way we help other people improve is by accepting who they are right now. Then they change as well.
Very, very wise words. I want to thank you, Mike, for your time, for how you show up as a human being, and the people that you've impacted in such a positive way. I have this deep belief why you've impacted people in this positive way is because you lead by example. Is literally that point that you just harped on, where it's like you don't change people, you just lead by example and do the thing, and people want to follow. Why? Because you've got these results for a specific reason within yourself, because of your habits and behaviors that you have in place. And so you're truly an inspiration, fantastic dad. It's been amazing to just learn, observe, and work with you. So I want to say thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, brother.